This is your year to ring in the deals and ring in the keys to your brand new ride during our Ring in the Savings event at Capital Ford. Like a new 2025 Ford F-250 Super Duty with 0% APR for 60 months. Or a new 2025 Ford Bronco Sport. Just $495 a month lease for 36 months with no money down. This is your year, so drive into 2026 the right way during our Ring in the Savings event at Capital Ford in Santa Fe.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into another episode of the Pit Press Live. I am Eric Moulton, your host for this evening. Joining me tonight, the Nunez duo, better half of them, Nick Nunez, the attorney, the lawyer of the group, and my co-host partner out in Vegas this last week. Nick, what's up, man? How you doing? Did you recover from Vegas yet?
Eric, I had a blast with you out in Vegas, man. And for everybody who is watching, Eric Moulton is a master at craps. Taught me how to get up on money, and that wasn't the highlight of Vegas, man. We had a blast covering the West Conference tournament. Have I recovered? I think finally today I did. Just 3 straight days of watching basketball. We did watch the Mountain West Conference Championship, but it was a ton of fun, man. I'm doing well and looking forward to talking more Lobo basketball with you and my dad.
Yep, and I had a blast with you too, man. Craps was friendly to us while we played for the short time we had a chance, but most of the time we spent at Thomas and Mack, man. We watched some really good, competitive, hard-played basketball, and you could tell a lot of physicality. Really kind of bummed out that the Mountain West only got one team in. I thought they definitely deserved maybe one more, possibly 3, but was kind of saddened to not be joined by Ed out in Vegas. I know we were trying to all be out there to provide the best coverage that we could, but Ed was caught up. He was calling a bunch of games for the New Mexico basketball high school state tournament. Maybe you can give us a quick rundown of that, Ed, but welcome to tonight, man. How you feeling?
Good, tired. I had to do some recouping on Sunday. I was tired. 16 games, but I got to do the 1A girls championship with Harper Dunn, the Albuquerque Academy junior standout. She joined me for that game, and she did a great job. And did the 4A, a bunch of other games too, 4A boys and girls semifinals. But I did the 4A final, Haden beating Artesia, Haden finishing the season on a 20-game win streak, and their 3rd title in 5 years. So really enjoyed it. I missed my son. My son and I are, do that together, and I really missed him. But I was glad him and I were in touch. You guys had a great time out there. I wish I could have joined you, but yeah, it was a great time though. State basketball tournament is always the funnest time of year for I think for all of us at ProView.
Yeah, we were just talking about, man, the Volcano Vista and Cleveland High School facing for the 6th time this season. Volcano coming away with the state championship, 5 in a row for the Hawks, which is incredible. And I think just doing it back to back is hard enough, but to do it 5 years in a row is really impressive. And yeah, Ed, I do got to give Nick some props. His nickname in Vegas was Mr. Papa Giorgio because he went on a little heater there. But let's talk some Lobo hoops, guys. What do you think? Yeah, obviously the crushing blow to the Lobos season. They lose to San Diego State in the Mountain West semifinal game 64-62. But before we jump into that one, let's go ahead and just kind of recap a little bit of the San Jose State game. UNM knocks off the Spartans 93-77. And then kind of coming into that game, I think the Lobos or maybe Lobo fans had this uneasy feeling watching San Jose State knock off Boise State in that quarterfinal round. Colby Garland, Jermaine Washington just were lights out. That tandem played really well. And I think coming into that game, myself included, felt a little uneasy just kind of figuring out, okay, how do the Lobos match up with them? How are they going to defend those two guards? And I would think for the better half or the better part of that first half, San Jose State kept it really close and actually had the lead for a while. And the Lobos just didn't have any answers to kind of stop that duo. But Nick, you recapped that game. Ed, I don't know if you had a chance to watch the San Jose State game, but I'll get your thoughts on it. But since Nick, you actually wrote the recap on that on our website, man, what was your kind of takeaway from that one?
Yeah, I think you hit a lot of good points, Eric. San Jose State shot the ball very well at the beginning of the first half. The first 14 minutes of that game, it was really tight, man. UNM was having a really hard time defending Colby Garland in the ball screen. San Jose State made 10 threes in that quarterfinal game, and Garland had 20 points, 7 assists. And I thought most of their offense came kind of in that first 14 minutes. At that point, I thought UNM really started to tighten its defense, forced some turnovers, got out in transition. Colby Garland got hurt, kind of, Eric. We were talking about what happened. We saw a comment, I think it was on one of our recaps maybe, that said he may have been hit in the midsection. So either way, man, they kind of ran out of gas down the stretch. And I thought UNM was very balanced. Bullion had a dominating game, 25 points, 14 rebounds, a huge double-double. They were very balanced with 4 guys in double figures. Jake Hall with 19. He shot the ball well. So good performance from UNM, man. They did what they needed to do. San Jose State just ran out of gas.
Yeah, Ed, I want to get your take on that game.
Yeah, I was mostly keeping up with it through Nick. I watched most of the San Diego State game. The San Jose State game, I fell asleep a lot of it, but I did watch most of it. And I thought my son was right. Garland is he had a good game up in San Jose State and here at the Pit. He's a very good guard. But Bullion, and they mentioned a quick jumper. He's a quick leaper off the floor. So he dominated, and he had a great presence inside and finished. And then Hall had a good game. So I thought UNM took care of. I expected them to take care of San Jose State. I wasn't surprised about that. I thought that was a better draw. San Jose State surprising Boise State. I thought it would be Boise State, who UNM struggle with. So I thought it was a better quarterfinal matchup with San Jose State than it might have been with Boise State. So I thought UNM did a good job of taking care of business.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up a comment here just because I totally agree with this take. But if Miles had more talent, they would be dangerous. He has always been a great coach. And in terms of Tim Miles, head coach at San Jose State. Man, and Nick, when we watched that game the night before the Boise State upset, I let you know, man, I thought Tim Miles came out with a really strong game plan against Boise State, was really aggressive on both sides of the ball, right? They pushed the pace on the offensive side, a lot of pick and rolls, and let Garland kind of get into that mid-range and work his magic. And you called it out, man. He makes such good quick decisions in that pick and roll, and it rarely makes a bad call. Yeah. Made a lot of free throws, got to the line a lot, but he just kind of hit that mid-range jumper. And Boise State just doesn't have the elusive. They're big, they're long, right? But they don't have the guards to kind of match up with them, and they kind of ran circles around them there for a little bit. But defensively, San Jose State was really effective too. Ball pressure was pretty stellar. And they came with that same ball pressure against UNM, right? And UNM kind of struggled to get a hold of that game. But I think the wear and tear from that first game, the physicality, Garland getting hurt, they just ran out of gas. That bench was not deep. I think they were running about a 7-man rotation. So you knew eventually that was probably going to take a toll on them. But let me go to a few more comments here. John Nick and Eric, while you two were in Vegas, myself and Ed held down the fort for the NMAA State Championships. I was responsible for getting refreshments and snacks at the pit all week for Ed. So hopefully that's true, Ed. He's taking care of you. But let's jump into.
Sorry, Eric. I just had to say that's usually my job is to go run and get food and drink for my dad, and I'm honored to do it, Dad. By the way,
Son, that's funny, son, because we usually have food up there, so all you got to do is walk over, right, 2 feet. So we're lucky. Yeah. Anyway, that's funny. Yeah.
Sorry, Eric. My bad.
Yeah, John Romero.
No, you're good.
John's a great guy.
Yeah, and then Nick Urias chiming in. Nick, good to finally meet you in person. Garless finished the season with 20-plus points in 11 straight games. Yeah, man, it was nice to meet you too, Nick, and I think we share that same sentiment for Garland. Man, that guy's first-class player. I think if he was a little bit bigger, he'd be turning a lot of heads. But, yeah, we'll have to get you on the show and kind of just maybe recap the whole Mountain West season play. I know that you're looking for a more permanent job in the sports industry, so we'll stay connected, man, and we'll get you back on. But what do you say, guys? Do you think we jump into the San Diego State game?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so Lobos fall to San Diego State 64-62 in somewhat of a heartbreak fashion, man. It wasn't a game that the Lobos played efficiently, struggled to score the ball. Nick, you talked about the Lobos just missing, 24, 25 shots from the mid-range or even layups. That San Diego State defense, the length, really bothered UNM, and it showed, man. So you were sitting up on press row. I was down on the floor kind of watching everything from the close end. But what was your takeaway from this one?
Yeah, man, I think, UNM was just inefficient. It was a defensive slugfest. That was the score, 64-62. Not a lot of points in this game. Neither team shot the ball well. I'm pulling up their percentages as we speak because I don't remember off the top of my head. But, yeah, man, UNM got to the rim. UNM got to the rim, and the only guy that shot efficient from the field was Dayton Albury. He was 7 for 10. Just look at some of these numbers. Uriah Tenet, 3 of 13 from the field. Jake Hall, 1 of 10 from the field. Tomislav Buljan, 3 of 9 from the field. Those numbers are San Diego State's length and athleticism, man. Magoon Guath in the post-game press conference that we got to attend talked about how Buljan keeping him off the boards, double teaming him if necessary, having 2 guys box him out. San Diego State's defensive game plan was let's take away Buljan. I mean, Jake Hall did not shoot the ball well. I'd have to go back and watch to even see how many shots he shot in the second half, but he just was a non-factor, man. I'm sorry. And credit to San Diego State's defense. Coach Dutcher talked about Reese Dixon Waters being the guy that was primarily responsible for him. I think Reese Dixon Waters finished with 3 points in this game. He had 5 points. But anyway, yeah, it was a defensive game plan to take away Hall and Buljan, man, and San Diego State made the winning play down the stretch. BJ Davis, just like the Aztecs did it to the Lobos in Viejas. So, you miss, what was it? They were 9 of 26 on layups, according to Stat Broadcast, and they were 15 of 28 from the free throw line. You're not going to win close games shooting those numbers, man. So that's how I felt about it.
Ed, so Buljan goes for 24 and 18 in the first game against San Diego State. I think that was here in the pit that he did that. But San Diego State limited Buljan big time in this game, and we talked about it. Every time he touched the ball in the paint, you just saw the wings kind of dig in and really kind of double team him. And every time he put the ball on the floor, he got his pocket picked. Led to some turnovers, and that's what they wanted to not do against the San Diego State team, was to allow them to create turnovers and get points in the transition. But that's what they did early. So the Lobos dug themselves an early hole, but end up kind of clawing their way back. But, I mean, what was your takeaway from that game? What did you see that stood out to you the most?
They talked about Magoon Guath. It's probably the best game I saw him play against New Mexico. He was hurt up in Viejas. Last year when they played here, he wasn't effective. When he shot those threes here in Albuquerque when the Lobos beat him, he was 0 for 4. So when he's shooting threes, I'm like, man, go ahead. But he hit it. And you mentioned defensively, they wanted to double, block out Buljan and make sure, again, he's a quick jumper, make sure he doesn't get that second shot. And they did a great job on him. And I think my son made a good point about Jake Hall. They got into him. The length got into him. They've got, and I said this on a show when we had Rocco Miller on. I think San Diego State was one of the most underachieving teams in the conference with what they have. But defensively, Nick and I talked about it earlier. Offensively, their system is built on defense, and they got to a national championship with it. So I thought, again, the game is tied 62-all, and I had Robert Portnoy on, the voice of the Lobos, yesterday on Unfiltered. I was filling in for Kenny Thomas, and he said that Albury had wanted to take a different angle. If he could do it differently. B.J. Davis made the play, though, man, at the end of the game, and Albury, he got into a gap and scored. And Nick and I talked about that. He made a winning play, and I think Nick and you, Eric, 15 of 28 from the charity stripe will not cut it. And they've done this over and over. Free throws have not been good. Bouillon has really struggled from the free throw line, so they didn't deserve to win. I hate to say that. Hall, when Dutcher's game plan worked, and let's limit Hall, let's limit Bouillon, and we'll win the game. That's what happened. Albury able to get downhill a couple of times, but 9 of 26 at the rim, that length bothered them. So that was the game in a sense, but they had a chance. They had a chance, and I think the other thing is, should they have gotten another bid? And 7 teams in the conference had 20 wins, but according to Tom Moser, that worked against the Lobos. The parity thing worked against the conference. So disappointing, but they, it was an exciting season. That was an exciting game, man. That really was, and it was disappointing that they lost. But I think for Coach Olen's first season, he did a great job.
Yeah, man, they left too much to be desired in that one, right? And you just talked about it, Ed, the free throws. That one was probably the hardest pill to swallow because they missed so many from the free throw line, and those are gimmies. But, I mean, kind of the final stretch of the season there, the Lobos as a team generally struggled from the free throw line, and it just finally caught up with them. But I don't think this game totally comes down to just not being able to make free throws. Obviously, that was a contributing factor. But Nick, I'm going to hand this one over to you. I want to kind of get your inside defensive ball pressure that San Diego State was able to impose, but then kind of the grittiness and the desire for Albury to continue to penetrate and finish around the rim. He ends up finishing with 20 points. He kind of ended up carrying the Lobos there in the second half. He was the one that really kept him in it, especially with how hard the San Diego State team was playing defensively. They forced UNM to shoot 32 or 33% from the field the entire game, which is not this Lobo team, man. They shoot at a high percentage clip for most of the season, and most of they finish at the rim, right? They do, but in this one they just didn't. So what did you take away from Dayton Albury's game and his ability to continue to kind of force the issue? Finished with 20 points, and I mean, he almost single-handedly kept them in this one.
Totally agree with you, man. His second half performance was strong. I think 15 of his 20 points came in the second half. Dayton Albury is an elite finisher at the rim. I know he hasn't shown it. I mean, hence the last time these teams played in Albuquerque in the pit, he was 0 for 10. So he's had some inefficiency against the Aztecs. But yeah, Eric, I think, man, when he got the opportunity to get ahead of the pack and get downhill, he just took advantage of it. He's got a really quick, shifty little Euro step. You'll watch him and he'll penetrate, and then he'll give you this kind of subtle Euro step. He creates a lot of space, and he's so explosive when he gets into that move that he's like a cat in there, man. He just finds the angle. And, DA just knew what this team needed that night. He knew that they needed somebody to score. He was their leading scorer in the second half. He took the ball to the rim, was efficient. And, man, all I got to say about DA is I think, Lobos got their money's worth with DA. He was a great team leader. I still is. We still got some basketball left to play. But I know there's been criticism of him at times this season. There's been times he hasn't finished. There's been times he's turned the ball over. But, man, when you got a senior delivering a performance like that in an elimination game, you're getting everything you could want. So shout out to DA, man. He was great.
And I'm going to hand this one over to you, but I do want to kind of dovetail off of what Nick was just saying about Dayton Albury's game. I think when Olen really pursued him and the staff pursued him as being the first piece to this puzzle at the beginning of the year, Olen's offense is kind of designed for the pace and space, right? Like Dayton Albury helps create that space and that pace because of his overall rim pressure. I don't think this offense works at all without him being able to do that to get to the rim. And we saw him kind of revolutionize his game over the kind of the course of the season. I think the first 10 games in, he was really reckless, a little careless with the ball. But about halfway point through, he just was really effective. Probably one of the more unguardable guards on this team for the Lobos, was one of the only ones that could probably create his own shot and beat guys off the dribble. But what would you say about DA's kind of just overall presence in this offense? And what did you kind of take away from his season?
Well, Coach Olen, everything's predicated on rim pressure. And I think there was times, as you mentioned, there's over penetration. He got stuck sometimes amongst the trees and turned it over. There's some games he didn't have that weren't so good. But there was other games. The Lobos were rolling, like in January, rolling downhill. He'd attack the rim, score, or kick it out, and then an extra pass, ball movement. So I thought he was the catalyst for a lot of their wins. And then defensively, I thought him and Uriah Tenet provided a lot of ball pressure on opposing teams' guards. And there was sometimes that he overdid that. He got in foul trouble and got fouled out at was it Nevada? He fouled out at. So I think that there's times that that hurt. But when they signed him, I remember reading in the paper. I was like, "Hey, man, that's a great signing," and it was. I think my son is absolutely right about that. Without him this year, I don't think they're near as efficient as they had been. Their efficiency, as we've seen in the numbers, Chris Berman at ESPN, look inside the numbers. It's taken a hit the last month, but that guy's been the catalyst, and he's going to be important tomorrow night. It's going to be a good matchup between him and another guard from us, and we'll talk about that guy later, but he's going to be really important in the Lobos' quest to move forward in the NIT, but I've really liked his game all season long. I really have.
Yep. Moving on to Mountain West Freshman Player of the Year in Jake Hall. Nick, you and I chatted a little bit about it just at the game. I think he just offers so much for this team, man, and they rely a lot on their freshmen, right? We can talk about Uriah Tenet a little bit too, but focusing on Jake Hall, he comes in, he's a 17-point scorer in conference play. This team relies heavily on his ability to score. And San Diego State basically kind of pulled that rug underneath the Lobos in this one, really forced Jake Hall kind of out of his rhythm offensively. He never looked comfortable. I don't think he ever got a good look at the basket. He goes 1 for 10 from the field, 1 for 7 from 3. Doesn't get to the free throw line either. Finishes with 5 rebounds, a couple of assists. But, I mean, this offense relies heavily on him being able to score the ball. He didn't score. They limited Tomislav Buljan. I mean, I think we can credit San Diego State's defense was kind of taking that away from UNM, but the absence of Jake Hall in this game specifically, not a knock on Jake Hall, maybe more of a testament to San Diego State, but I mean, how much did that impact this game?
Huge, man. Huge. Again, Coach Dutcher talked about Reese Dixon Waters being responsible for him. Eric, sitting next to Kenny Thomas, KT, during the game, and it was a privilege, man. And KT's the one who made this observation. He was like, watch how the Lobos use Jake Hall. They're going to have him set a screen. And you see that. Like, Jake Hall gets free a lot of the time and gets some mismatches because he'll go set like a ball screen for Dayton Albury or Uriah Tenet. And then it's whether does that man switch onto Jake or does he get a switch? And if he does, it's a favorable matchup for him. But there you see in that photograph taken by Eric Moulton. And you guys should check out the recaps, not because the writing's any good, but because Eric takes great photos and includes them in the recaps and places them in really good spots. But anyway, yeah, man, I mean, I thought they just stuck to Jake Hall all night. He never really got free. I'd have to go back and look, man. I can't even remember the looks that he got in the first half. I want to say he took most of his shots in the first half. And he hit one early in the first half from 3, but that was it, man. That was it. So that was big. We talked about Buljan a lot, man. They made him ineffective on the offensive glass. I think he had 3 offensive rebounds. That's where he gets a lot of his points and opportunities. He got some opportunities at the line, didn't convert, as he has not, unfortunately, man. And we love Tomislav, second-team All-Mountain West, 23-year-old pro from Croatia. He just put out a promotional video with UNM's social media. You should go check it out on X and Instagram. Talks about how he wants to play in front of the fans. That's why he wants to play in the NIT. So, yeah, man, they took those guys away, and those are UNM's best options, and they didn't have it that night.
Yeah, definitely didn't have it. It was frustrating to watch, but One guy that picked up the slack, man, and he's kind of always been that guy and started for the first time in this tournament. Freshman Uriah Tenet. He comes out, usually first guy off the bench for either Chol or someone else, but he ends up taking Chol's starting spot against San Jose State. And man, they jump out the gate. I think they jump out to an 8 or 9-0 run. And then he started again in the San Diego State game. And he just played well, right? Like he wasn't rattled at all by San Diego State's defensive pressure. He attacked the rim. He finished in the mid-range. I don't think he made a three because I think he went 1 for 5 from the 3-point range, and usually he's good for 1 or 2. But his overall composure, I thought his 11 points helped the Lobos keep pace with San Diego State, especially in this low-scoring game. But Ed, when you saw that Uriah Tenet was in the starting lineup once again against San Diego State, I mean, what was your initial knee-jerk reaction? And then, I mean, how impressed could you be with this true freshman and kind of how his load and his contribution to this team over the whole season has just increased as the season has gone on?
We had a tremendous block. I don't know if that was on BJ Davis. I can't remember who the block was on, but it was tremendous. I made highlight videos. I'm sure I don't know if ESPN ran that, but it was a tremendous block. So I think they wanted to bring Chol off the bench and see if he gave them a little bit against San Jose State, and but not much against San Diego State. So I was glad to see him in there. I think he makes plays. He gets, when we talk about paint touches, he gets to the paint. He makes decisions when he's in there. He's got tremendous leaping ability. He can make a three. He plays good defense. I think he's been a great pickup. I remember Robert Portnoy talking to me at a practice early in the year, and he had said he'd watched him in preseason come through the lane off a missed free throw and just slam over everybody. And this is before I knew anything about him. So I think he's surprised us with his athleticism, his growth as a freshman. We got to remember he's just a freshman. Him and Jake Hall are just freshmen. So I think he hasn't played like a freshman, and I was glad to see him in there because he normally makes some plays you can count on, and he should be even better next season. So I was glad to see him out there.
I'm looking for a quick video, but Nick, I'm going to hand this one over to you next, man. I just want it was your first Mountain West tournament, right? We had to go, man. We tried to make it work, and I'm glad we were able to share that experience and just see everything firsthand. It's a top-notch event, man. Credit to the Mountain West, credit to Gloria Navarez. They put on a heck of a show, but we also saw some really good basketball too, man. It was physical. These guys were playing hard. And I would put this league up against a lot of other leagues, even some of the P4s from a physicality and basketball standpoint. But what was your kind of overall impression and your first kind of taste of the Mountain West tournament?
It was amazing, man. Just to see the atmosphere of fan bases in the same arena. You don't normally see that, right? You're either at a home venue or a visitor venue. And for me, because this was my first ever Mountain West tournament, I was like, man, this is cool to see the herd. We sat right in the middle of the herd, dude. I'm like, who gets to sit right in the middle of the herd? They're so creative, Eric. We were talking about all the chants that they have, and they're loud all game. And they don't just say the same thing. They have all kinds of different chants and cheers. So that was my favorite part of it, man, was just the atmosphere. And I thought it was good basketball. It got kind of ugly in the championship game a little bit for San Diego State. I mean, they're just kind of an ugly team to begin with. You definitely saw the arrogance of San Diego State. And look, I'm not saying anything bad about San Diego State, okay? They deserve all of the accolades that they've gotten in this Mountain West Conference. Tip your hat to them as they go to the Pac-12. But I'm sorry, they're an ugly team to watch. So, but other than that, man, I loved it. I really enjoyed being with you there, man. Eric, you do a great job, man, of those photos and just putting all this together. So it was great, man.
Likewise on your articles, man. But I want to get your take from just the support the New Mexico fan base got. I want to shout out them. I mean, obviously the herd was loud. We were right next to them, and they had by far the biggest student section. But UNM, man, the Lobo fans, the Pit West, they definitely brought it, and they had the biggest crowd, and I don't even think it was close. So that was fun to be a part of. All the New Mexico flag, the Zia flags waving in the crowd, the roar of the crowd when the Lobos played and when they scored, and especially in that San Jose State game, I think just getting a taste of a win in the Mountain West tournament. You just had this feeling like they were just going to click on all cylinders and just end up running into a really good defensive team that kind of just slowed down their roll. But looking forward to covering this team some more as we kind of head into the NIT. I'm glad they decided to play, man, because a lot of people or a lot of teams are electing not to play, like San Diego State, like Boise State. I know some of that is probably influenced by either injuries or lack of depth, or maybe they just think they're above it. I really couldn't tell you. I don't have too much of an opinion on it. But I do know that we want to continue to cover this team and have a big one tomorrow night at the Pit, 7 p.m. against Sam Houston. Not Sam Houston State, but the Bearcats. Nick had a nice article preview, kind of a teaser just about the Sam Houston State. I think they finished second in the league in conference. They were the 2 seed in the tournament. They actually played New Mexico State in that first round. And in just a bit, we're going to be joined by Nick Coppola of the what's the paper in Las Cruces?
Las Cruces Sun News.
There you go. Too bad I messed that up, man. But we're going to go to a quick commercial break. We're going to be joined by Nick Coppola. He's been a friend of the show. We're going to talk about Sam Houston and maybe a little bit about what's going on in New Mexico State's world down in Las Cruces. So thanks for watching the Pit Press. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
This is your year to ring in the deals and ring in the keys to your brand new ride during our Ring in the Savings event at Capital Ford. Like a new 2025 Ford F-250 Super Duty with 0% APR for 60 months. Or a new 2025 Ford Bronco Sport. Just $495 a month lease for 36 months with no money down. This is your year, so drive into 2026 the right way during our Ring in the Savings event at Capital Ford in Santa Fe.
Welcome back to the Pit Press Live, and we lost Ed. I'm going to work on getting him back on screen, but we are joined by Mr. Nick Coppola, coming all the way from Las Cruces. Nick, we want to thank you for joining us. Again, man, you've been on our show a couple times, but we want to pick your brain on Sam Houston, but we also want to talk to you about what's going on in Aggie Land, because I know that there's been a lot of news down there recently, and welcome back to the Pit Press, man. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for holding on to Coppola, by the way.
Coppola. Sorry about that.
No, it's all right. But yeah, I'm happy to be back on, and yeah, I'll go ahead and shoot. It's a blast to be on here all the time. Hope we just lost. Oh, there we go. Nick's back. There we go.
Nick, go ahead, man. I'm going to work on getting your dad back on.
Sounds good. Hey, Nick, thanks for joining us, man. Really appreciate it. Yeah, man. So, New Mexico State, I know you obviously do a ton for the Las Cruces Sun News, man. I would encourage all of our followers to go check out Nick Coppola at the Las Cruces Sun News. Find him on X. But yeah, man, obviously New Mexico State men's basketball is something that we're looking at. I think the Aggies finishes at 16-16, Nick?
Yeah, 16-16. They made the quarterfinals of the Conference USA tournament. So they won their first round game against Jacksonville State, but then they lost to Sam Houston, who we're about to talk about right now.
Yeah, man. We'll get into Sam Houston. So tell us what we need to know based on your observations. I think the Aggies played the Sam Houston Bearcats with a K twice this year, and then, like you said, lost to him in the conference tournament. So tell us what we need to know about Sam Houston.
Yeah, well, I've seen Sam Houston play twice this year. They were New Mexico State's first conference game, all the way back in December, and they won. That was a game that they won, and then of course they played them in the quarterfinals that we talked about, and they lost. So they got a lot of talent. They finished second in Conference USA this year. They made the semifinals of the Conference USA tournament. Chris Mudge, their coach, he won co-coach of the year in Conference USA alongside Richie McKay of Liberty. And they got a lot of good players. The guy that comes to mind to me first is Cashy Nat. He had a double-double twice in the Conference USA tournament, once against New Mexico State and another in the semifinals for points and rebounds. So he's a really, really good player. Really stood out to me in their Conference USA tournament. And they have a lot of scorers too. Cashy Nat is one of 5 players right now for Sam Houston who's averaging double-digit points per game. Po' Boy King is the leader. I don't really think he played in the Conference USA tournament, but if they're able to get him back for the NIT, that'll be a massive addition for the Bearcats, and some of the UNM is going to have to really key in on to stop. Veljko Ilic, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. He's a good forward for them as well, 11.4 points per game, one of their leading rebounders. He's really a guy to watch. He started every single game for him, played every game, started every game for them alongside Cashy Nat. So a really good player. Another guy to watch, Jacob Walker. Doesn't really start much. I think he's played a majority of his games off the bench, but also really good scorer, also averaging over 11 points a game. And they're really deep. If there's anything about Sam Houston, it's a really deep team. I mean, Jacoby Coleman, Devon Nicholas Jr., another forward to watch there. He's a really interesting one. I think he only had about like 2, maybe 3 points against New Mexico State in the quarterfinals, but he had double-digit rebounds. He got up to 10 rebounds. So even though he wasn't scoring, he still found ways to contribute. So a very deep team, a very balanced team, and a very good team to watch, and a tough opponent for New Mexico.
Yeah, go ahead.
Nick, I watched, you mentioned Cashy Nat, and I watched some highlights today of Sam Houston State. I think you're right. Ilic and Buljan should have quite the battle tomorrow night. That should be one's a Serb and one's from Croatia, man. And you're way before you was even born. There was, the war is over, thank God. But that immediately came to mind. Not that I want them to fight, but that's Ilic is
all about the Yugoslav War.
yeah. That was I was impressed by him. But Cashy Nat, that athleticism, he's their leading rebounder at 8.3 rebounds per game. And some of the things I saw this guy do that's NBA athleticism. Talk to us a little bit about him, because when I saw him, New Mexico, him and Dayton Albury, and my son made a good point. He thinks he's more athletic than Dayton, and that's not a knock on Dayton. I think those two should have a mano-a-mano tussle that should have the Pitt fans pretty excited, I think.
Yeah, Cashy Nat's a stud. Him being the leading rebounder, and I think he's only 6'2", 6'3", is really impressive. Like, he was the Conference USA Defensive Player of the Year, made the All-Defensive Team. So that guy can really get it done on both ends. He can play really good defense, which, Chris Mudge, he runs kind of a Jason Hooten like system, as he was his assistant for a long time. That's really big on defensive guards. And Cashy Nat is the guy for them at the perimeter for defense. Like I said, Conference USA Defensive Player of the Year. And of course, he's a good scorer as well, averaging over 10 points a game. So he's really good. Like I said, he got a double twice in the Conference USA tournament. I believe he got 16 rebounds against New Mexico State. Yeah, as a guard, as a 6'3" guard, he had 16 rebounds, which is, that was incredible. He was all over the place, and so that guy, he's really. And he got 10 rebounds in the first matchup that they had against New Mexico State back in December. So this guy's been rebounding all season, and he is really good.
My son, I'll turn it over to you, Nick. Let me just ask one more. My son had mentioned, I watched Po' Boy King is hurt, but I watched him too. I watched him against Utah, and Utah, they gave up a lot of threes against Utah, but they came back, man. This is an athletic team that I think Pitt fans are going to be like, okay, it's a disappointment that they didn't get in the NCAA. I get it. Mm-hmm. But if you see this team and you watch the highlights I did, I don't understand how Cashy Nat's not at 15 or 16 or 20 a game, but some of the athletic plays he makes, I was dumbfounded. I'm like, oh my goodness. That's NBA stuff that you see there. So I think Pitt fans, and then they've got Walker, Coleman. They've got some people, man. I watched some of their game against New Mexico State. So I'm impressed. I think Pitt fans will be very happy with what they see tomorrow night. Go ahead, son.
Yeah, we're speaking with Nick Coppola of the Las Cruces Sun News. Nick, just two more questions for you about Sam Houston, and then we'll transition and ask you some questions about New Mexico State. But one thing I noticed about Sam Houston, they got some three-point shooters. Jacoby Coleman, number 2. Po' Boy King, if he does play, he shoots high volume, like almost 7 threes a game. UNM's defense has had some problems with some three-point shooting this year, just based on their scheme. Do you think this is an area that could hurt the Lobos tomorrow night?
Yeah. Like you said, they're a decent, three-point shooting team. Actually a really good three-point shooting team. I think they have one of the best three-point shooting percentages in Conference USA. I think only Liberty had a better three-point shooting percentage than them amongst teams in that conference. So they're a really good three-point shooting team. They're a really good shooting team in general. Like I said before, they're solid at defense. The defense can be better at times, but their points per game allowed average ranked in the bottom, or I guess in this case to be the top half of the conference. And they're really good at many things. One thing I noticed in their quarterfinal win over New Mexico State in the conference tournament was that they can hurt you in so many ways. Probably cashing out, if you had to pick one standout player, it'd probably be him in that game. But there's just so many guys that hurt New Mexico State, and in so many ways that they could hurt New Mexico State, whether it's like you said with three-point shooting or just on the defensive end. I think New Mexico State in the final 4 minutes or so, I think they only had one field goal against them. You just pulled up the fast break. They're good at that too. So yeah, they're a team that can beat you in a lot of different ways. They were actually my pick to win the Conference USA tournament. They didn't get it done. But yeah, they're a team that can beat New Mexico, and they're a team that's dangerous in a lot of ways. And the Lobos are going to have to really look out for them. I think New Mexico will end up winning the game.
Okay.
I think UNM's a better team, but they shouldn't sleep on Sam Houston. They're pretty good.
Right on, Nick. We appreciate you giving us a little scouting report on Sam Houston. Again, we're speaking with Nick Coppola of the Las Cruces Sun News. Nick, let's transition into a little New Mexico State athletics. We appreciate you joining us. First, just wanted to ask about the New Mexico State men's basketball season, man. I mean, they finished 16-16 like we talked about. I feel like this team just had a really rough stretch during the conference season. And, they kind of played better down the stretch. But what's the temperature on Jason Hooten and the program right now?
Yeah, the program, it was a really, really disappointing season for them. It started off well. They started out 6-0. They beat New Mexico. That was their first 6-0 start since, I think, when they went to the Final Four in 1970. So it was a long time since they were even 6-0. And then the inconsistency started. They lost 3 straight. On a Texas trip to South Alabama, Abilene Christian, Tulsa. Those 3 games were in Texas. And then they won their first conference games against Sam Houston, like I said. And then they were they go on a winning stretch, then a losing stretch. And then they trade wins and losses and all that kind of stuff. They were just a really, really inconsistent team, up and down. Jason Hoon described the season as a roller coaster type season after they lost in the quarterfinals of the Conference USA tournament. And I think that's accurate because it was. They needed a 2-0 stretch at the end of the season just to qualify for the Conference USA tournament. They played in a lot of close games. I think 8 of their games were decided by 3 points or less this season, and they were 2-6 in those games. So they weren't really good at closing out close games. Just a lot, and a really disappointing finish. This was a team that was predicted to finish 3rd in Conference USA before the season started, behind Liberty and Kennesaw State, who's now won the conference tournaments. So this was a team that had a lot of high expectations coming in. They got better from year 1 to year 2 under Jason Newton. So the expectation is, okay, we're going to get even better in year 3. And that just did not happen for New Mexico State for various reasons. And, it's hard to pinpoint a key issue. You could probably do that if you find one. Like in year 2 last year, if they lost a game, they couldn't shoot. It's because they couldn't score. This year, it was just a lot of problems. It would just kind of be like a whack-a-mole, whichever one sprung up. Sometimes they couldn't play defense. Sometimes they couldn't shoot. Sometimes, like I said, they couldn't pull out some close games. Sometimes they just forgot how to win. So, it was a very interesting and a very difficult season, and one that just doesn't really put a lot of hope in the progression of of the program. Certainly not a type of season you want to have when you're trying to get back on track.
Yeah,
Coach Hooten did a great job at Sam Houston, and then they had to recover from the things that happened under Greg Heyer.
For sure.
New Mexico State has always been pretty supportive of their Aggies, and they've done really well in the past. Going forward, though, what Coach Hooten won, how many times did he win 20 games at Sam Houston State? Many times. Chris Mudge there, and he's Coach Hooten was very complimentary on what he's doing there at Sam Houston. How much confidence do you have in Coach Hooten to be able to recruit and the Aggies to have better season next year?
Yes, it's tough to say. They're progression, like I said, from year 1 to year 2, that's like, okay, this guy can turn around. It's not a normal rebuild. It's not a normal turnaround that they're going through. But this year 3 was, it was just such a kick in the teeth for the program because of the expectations, because of what people thought that they were going to do. They won a Conference USA tournament game, I guess, and it was in the first round. But they did do that. They had yet to win in the Conference USA tournament since joining the league. So they got that off them. But yeah, I guess it really just depends on, the kind of offseason that they had. But I thought they had a good offseason last year. They brought in some good guys, and some of the guys that they brought in did turn out really good. Jamel Jones was a guy that they recruited from Cal State Bakersfield. He was one of the best scorers in the conference. Julius Mims was a guy they brought in from Idaho. He led the conference in rebounding. It's strange, New Mexico State was the only team in Conference USA that had a player in the top 5 for points per game and the top 5 in rebounds per game, and they finished 10th in the conference. And so you're trying to figure out what goes wrong. And like I said, it was just some nights they couldn't shoot, some nights they couldn't play defense. It was just a million problems. I mean, he's going to get a 4th year, mostly just because Jason Noon has a buyout, I think, north of $2 million right now. So he's gonna get the time to turn it around. But yeah, this season was just not what they needed at all.
I think he's worth another year. I do. It's hard. I think he's his record speaks for itself before they brought him here. One more question before you leave. You got a Spurs hat on. They're at 50 wins. Wemby, Vassell, Castle, De'Aaron Fox, Barnes. I'm a Lakers fan. I love the Lakers, but I got to say, San Antonio's built with wings and guards, and LA doesn't have that. I just got to ask you your quick opinion on the San Antonio Spurs, who I think are going to be hell to be dealt with for a long time.
Yeah, man, I'm confident. I think towards the latter stretches of the playoffs, that lack of combined playoff experience within the team might hurt us. It'll be the first playoff run for pretty much the entire roster, or at least most of them. But I really like how we're playing. I got the Spurs game right behind me. We're playing the Kings right now. But I think what makes us really dangerous is, of course, Wemby's exceptional.
Oh man,
incredible, best players in the NBA. But I think what makes us really dangerous is just we're a team. If you stop Wemby, okay, we can kick it out to Devin Vassell or Julian Champagne, and they can hit a 3, or Stephon Castle or De'Aaron Fox can score. You want to try to score on the other end? Stephon Castle is just going to play great defense against whatever scoring guard that you have. You try to drive, Wemby's just going to block a shot.
Yeah.
So I think, we can beat you in so many ways. We got so many talented players. Dylan Harper and Keldon Johnson off the bench. We got so much depth. We have so much talent. We're way ahead of schedule. This is a season that I don't think we thought that we would have at this point. 50 wins. We weren't even a play-in team last year, and so I think the future is bright. Even if we don't win the finals this year or even make it, I think the future's incredibly bright for us.
Yeah, you got to be really excited, man. I just had to ask you that because I know, as a Lakers fan, I'd love them, but they don't have the wings and guards that San Antonio does or OKC. And, it's going to take a long time. I might be dead if the Lakers – but I saw them win 12, though. 12 championships, man. So I can always say that. Son?
Hey, we've been joined by Nick Coppola of the Las Cruces Sun News. Nick, thanks so much for joining us tonight, man. We'll definitely want to bring you on again whenever you have time. Talk more New Mexico State athletics. We know there's a lot to talk about. So thanks for joining us, man.
Of course,
thanks, Nick.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Thanks for inviting me.
All right. Yep. You've been watching the Pit Press Live. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll come back. We'll address your comments. I know there's some chatter about Eric Olen and his job status. There's a lot of things up in the air right now with UNM men's basketball. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. Be right back on the Pit Press Live.
Not just a day or a week. This President's Day event lasts all month long at Capitol Ford in Santa Fe. Find monumental savings on our best Ford selection, like a new 2026 Ford Escape plug-in hybrid, now $5,800 off MSRP. or a new 2025 Ford Bronco Sport. Just $400 a month lease for 36 months. So hurry and save during this President's Day event all month long at Capital Ford in Santa Fe.
All right, guys, we're back.
Sorry, Eric, my bad. It's all
Go ahead, Nick.
Sorry.
Take it, dude. Take it.
Oh, dude. Welcome back to the Pit Press Live. Eric, just wanted to welcome you back, man. What did you think of Nick Coppola?
Nick's great, man. Nick's always been. I mean, from the second he was hired, we annoyed him. We probably bugged him to come on our show and talk New Mexico State athletics, football, basketball, you name it. He does it. For a long time, Las Cruces Sun News didn't have any sort of coverage for New Mexico State. So the first year that we started this, I remember talking with Ed and Ryan about it, and we just didn't have anyone down in Cruces to help us talk more Aggies or even the rivalry with UNM. So we actually had to bug some folks down in El Paso to kind of give us their best shot at it. But man, I think he's doing a phenomenal job. He's young. I think he's a fresh grad out of college. Might be one of his first gigs, but he does a really good job. He's a really great writer, and I don't think the newspaper there could have asked for a better person to do it. And yeah, we've kind of just watched him growing up before our eyes, and he does a great job, man. So glad to get him on, and he knows a lot about Sam Houston, man. And I didn't realize until actually looking further into Sam Houston about how athletic, elusive, man. They like to run in the break. They like to get out on the rebounds. They're one of the most effective rebounding teams in the conference, and they're kind of right there neck and neck with Kennesaw State, and they end up winning the conference outright to head to the big dance. But Nick thought that maybe they had a shot to win it outright too. So this is definitely a team that has that NCAA tournament talent, and they're good enough to get there. They just fell a game short. Pretty similar to what happened with UNM. So I think tomorrow might be a little bit more interesting than I think a lot of us anticipated because it being the NIT. But great interview. I'm glad you guys reached out, or glad you guys connected and were able to get him on tonight.
Yeah, dude. I mean, the Lobos are 11.5-point favorites. How do you guys feel about that point spread? Eric, based on what you saw, what you've read, Dad, based on what you have seen and what you heard from Nick, I mean, what do you think about that point spread?
Go ahead, Eric.
I think it might be a little high, right? Ed, I know I forget who always tells you that the pit's always good for 5 to 10 points, right? I don't know about that, man. Just watching those guys, they can get up and down, and it's going to be a fun game. It's going to be electric. I just think 11 points in a postseason tournament like this is a lot, right? Because there's not a whole lot to know about either team, and both teams are going to be motivated to play. And I mean, just looking back at how the teams played in the Mountain West tournament, I think that team could probably compete with a lot of these teams in the Mountain West. So 11's a little high for me, but I think the Lobos should still be favored.
Dad.
I think so too. But when I looked at Sam Houston State and some of the highlights, they're like we said, I'm looking forward to seeing Cashy Nat. When I saw some of the highlights, this guy's unbelievable, man. Some of the dunks he makes and plays he makes in traffic, I think the Pitt fans are really going to enjoy that. So I think Greg Brown had said that, the late Greg Brown, who I can't believe is dead. I still can't believe that, man. He was only 54 when he passed away from a car accident. And somebody, I really, really liked him a lot. But he would always say that's when the Pitt was at full throat when he played. So tomorrow night, we don't know what the fans are basing. They got 6,500 for Utah Valley a couple years ago in the NIT. So I don't know what the fan base is going to be tomorrow. But hopefully they'll make a lot of noise. Even 6,000, 7,000 could still sound loud, but certainly nothing like the 15,000 that the Pitt is used to getting.
For sure. UNM men's basketball takes on Sam Houston tomorrow in the Pitt, 7 p.m. tip-off. You can catch the game on ESPN Plus. You can get to the Pitt, buy tickets, go to golobos.com for more information, or check out UNM's social media pages. Guys, one of the sidebars with UNM men's basketball is the status of UNM men's basketball coach Eric Olen. Obviously, he's the head coach, but there's been rumors that he may have interviewed for the Boston College job. I mean, there's so many things on the internet these days. It's hard to know what to believe. Jeff Grammer, who covers the Albuquerque Journal, does a fine job tweeted on his X account today that he directly asked Eric Olen if he interviewed for the Boston College job. And you can go check out Jeff's tweet. You can read it for yourself. But he basically said, I'm not going to discuss other coaching positions. I'm focused on this team, and I like what we can build at UNM. So take of it what you will. This is with a commenter. Again, Eric, you showed this earlier. Francisco Chavez, 1010, just tuning in. But I saw that Olen interviewed at BC and in running for Arizona State. Would suck if he left, but wouldn't doubt it. Eric, I mean, your thought on that?
Isn't it inevitable at this point? I mean, if you're a college coach and you're having a successful season, obviously he's coming off back-to-back successful seasons. He was 30-5 at UC San Diego the season before, took his team to the tournament. After helping them transition from the D2 level to the D1 level, first year that UC San Diego becomes eligible for March Madness, he makes the dance at 30-5. So the guy can flat out coach basketball. He comes into a really good job here, right? Like I can't stress that point enough that a lot of coaches value this job, right? They reach out to other coaches in the industry and talk about they're getting feedback. Should I consider something like this? Should I go where the fans are? Should I go where there's going to be support here? There are going to be fans at UNM. There is going to be plenty of basketball support there. From a financial perspective, from an athletic director's perspective, you talk about a guy like Ryan Berriman, who dedicated like half his life to working with UNM basketball, right? So that support is always going to be here. It's a good job. I think there's a lot to consider, but when you do a good job, you're always going to be considered for other jobs. There's other schools that are going to be looking to upgrade their programs, right? And it's a cutthroat business. So if you don't perform, if you're on a short leash, like we were just talking about Coach Hooten down in Las Cruces, he didn't have a very good season. They're already talking about him being on the hot seat and he's 3 years in, right? Like, I don't know if that could be like on the flip side. Has there ever been a coach at UNM that has been on the hot seat outside of Paul Weir?
Yeah,
it's tough. It's tough to say, man. It's a good job. I think if he were to take a job somewhere else, that's going to pay him more. Good luck to him. But at the same time, this is a job that's highly sought after too. There's so many people that would bend over backwards to take this position and do just as good of a job, if not better. I mean, it's really hard to say, but I don't think we can focus on that. I think the powers that be are working on it. The president, she's on her way out, and President Stokes. But at least we have Ryan Berriman, who's been a staple around here, knows what to do, kind of knows the industry. It's just, we got to take it day by day, man. But they play Sam Houston State tomorrow. I think that's what Coach Olen's focused on at the moment.
Agree with you, man. Totally 100%. Dad, your take again, the comment being that, or the question being, how do you feel about Eric Olen potentially interviewing for the Boston College job and what it means for UNM men's basketball?
Look, this is the bottom line. It's a distraction. It is. Look, and he can do whatever he wants. I like him. I hope he stays 5 years. But we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. What are the players thinking about that? They've got to play. I get it. He said he's locked in. Nick, you said you felt he was locked in. But it is somewhat of a distraction. But he's, again, free to pursue whatever opportunity comes his way. I'm not saying he shouldn't. And, Eric, you mentioned that. That's the nature of college athletics these days is, hey, if a guy's good, they're going to come looking for him. And this is a good job. And they will, if he leaves, find another coach. They'll have to keep going. But the players, we have no idea what they're thinking. There's another comment there. So yeah, at UCLA, I wouldn't doubt. I wouldn't think he'd be a top candidate there. I wouldn't. Now maybe a candidate, but is he the top candidate? I wouldn't think that, but I don't know. The bottom line is this, Eric. You remember when we had Alex Kirk on our Lobo Legends series 2 years ago, and we asked him, did the players know that Alfred was leaving before the Harvard game? And he's insisted no. I've heard other reports that they did, but Alex Kirk was vehemently said no way. But I'm just saying, when he's asking questions or answering questions about other jobs, don't think the players aren't hearing that. Of course they do, man. They do. It's a tight circle. So, yeah, they're wondering, is he saying what's going on? I don't know if it's going to be a distraction tomorrow night or not. I don't know. I just know I've been around a lot of locker rooms, a lot of teams. I understand those kind of things. And so do you, Nick and Eric. You're a state champ, bro. You know how that goes too, man. So I don't know that, again, the players, that some of them may be asking what's going on. That's the rumor mill, the inside the athletic department rumor mill. We don't know what is being discussed. I hope he stays 5 years. I like him a lot. That's just part of the game, you know. And I think somebody wanted to know too. One of my friends, Juan Martinez, Nick, he felt like I told him you were at the presser that, and his comment is in there somewhere that Coach Olen doesn't look happy, and looks unhappy with some of the questions. But I think after a while, when there it is. So Nick, you can answer that.
Yeah, look, I mean, today he had a lot of pop and a lot of energy. Eric Olen just has a different personality, man. I think everyone thinks basketball coach and they got to be this alpha male who yells a lot and has a big voice and a big personality. And he's just not really that type of person, in my observation. And Dad, Eric, you guys have all been to press conferences, man. I mean, he's just kind of type B, little laid back. But guy coaches hard. So, to the question by Juan Martinez, his body language shows that he's annoyed at some of the questions, and it looks like he's not happy here. I don't know if he looks annoyed by some of the questions. I think he answers the question and doesn't always elaborate. I think when we ask questions, sometimes we're hoping that there's somewhat of an explanation as to why he's giving the answer. Sometimes he just chooses to give a 2-3 word answer, and that's just his answer. I'm not in his head, so I can't tell you what he's thinking. Do I think he wants to be here? Like, ultimately, yes, I do. I absolutely do think that he wants to be here. I think he loves this team. He talked about wanting to play for this group of guys. I think he certainly respects the position that he has. He said it multiple times. He knows this is a good job. I ultimately think he's focused on this game tomorrow night. He's focused on this tournament in the NIT. If there's news next week that he's going to Boston College or some other Power 4 school, unless something happens I just don't see that happening. I don't think that's likely. So that's my comment on that. Guys, let's get to some of these other comments. Well, Eric, do you have any final thoughts on that, man? I mean, maybe we should close the loop on this because it is a pretty hot topic.
I'll wrap it up here. With that topic particularly, there's so much that goes into making a big life decision like that, man. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's been on the West Coast for 21 seasons, somewhat makes his way over to the Midwest, not even the Midwest, the Southwest at New Mexico. I mean, he's got a young family. He's got 2 young daughters. He's got a wife to worry about too. I mean, do you think they want to go out to the East Coast and completely flip life upside down, the culture shock? I think his kids are like in elementary school. I mean, my personal opinion on it is I've got 2 little ones too. One's going to be 5, one's going to be 2. I mean, you have to consider all things like general life, not just taking a job because they're the first big school to be rumored to interviewing you. And then the second piece of that is, yeah, these schools are looking to fill a head coaching vacancy. There's not much time. As soon as that last championship game ends, the portal opens and these schools can start recruiting players out of the portal. And if you don't have a coach in your program recruiting the portal heavily, you don't have a staff, then you're already behind the times. That first year is going to be a waste because you're not going to be able to reconstruct a roster for half the team, or maybe even like in the UNM's case, the entire team left. So that time is precious, man. So I don't blame these schools for reaching out and trying to fill positions and interview. It's just the nature of the business now. And I mean, some of these players, I'm not saying that anyone on UNM specifically, but just in general in college basketball, have their foot out the door already. And they're looking for the next best paycheck. And that's what this whole NIL and rev share, that's the can of worms that the NCAA opened with this whole thing. Right. So it's we got to get used to it. There's nothing we can do about it as fans, but we can continue to show up for the University of New Mexico. And that's kind of what I plan on doing. So I'll close it with that. Maybe you guys have an additional comment to that, but there are a bunch of comments kind of in there, Nick, if you want to start looking at some of those.
Let's see. We'll go with the next one from VNS Trujillo 7184. Great show, guys. I just tuned in, so I'm not sure what you discussed so far. I'm glad the Lobos will participate in the postseason NIT tournament. That's a great comment, man. There was another one here from JRod1702. Eric, Dad, want to get your thoughts on this. Dad, you kind of gave a comment yesterday when you filled in for Kenny Thomas on Unfiltered, but what kind of crowd do the Lobos draw tomorrow night in the pit? We hope it's over 5,000. Like, if you had to give a range, how many fans do you think show up? Whoever wants to take it first.
I'd say 5,000 to 7,000. They'll get 5 to 7. I'm hoping.
Eric, thoughts?
I'm more optimistic than that. I say they get closer to like the 9 to 10. I know my folks are going. They already purchased their tickets, and my dad said that tickets weren't as easily to find like a good seat. I mean, maybe he didn't know exactly where to look, but I'm gonna have to go in the 9-10 range. This is a good team, man. This is having a good season. They fell just short of the NCAA tournament. For us to get the chance to watch them again in person at the pit and to be the number one seed, it'd be hard for us to turn that down. So I think it's gonna be, more than the 5 to 7. I'm gonna shoot for maybe 9 to 10,000.
Dude, you hit the nail on the head on so many good points there. Let's get to the next comment. Brian Cantu 2201. Let's see how the altitude affects SHS. Dad, we've seen teams that don't play at altitude come into the pit, particularly San Diego State. I don't know if that's the best comparison to Sam Houston State, but just the general point of altitude affecting teams. Plus, you got the pit. You think you'll get a pit crowd. How does the atmosphere affect the Bearcats with a K?
That's a very good question from Brian. So, yeah, we're going to see because we've seen teams melt down. When they run a game and they like to run, they like to get out. They're athletic. Some of the highlights I watched, especially Nat, Cashy Nat, I'm like, dang, man, I had to run a couple of those back because this guy is dynamic. He'll finish with some power. So, but when the game, if they're going to roll downhill like that, we're going to see it in the second half how that affects Sam Houston State.
Yep. And then, Dad, one more for you. Hell yeah, Spurs, baby. You watch more NBA than either Eric or I probably. Tell us about the Spurs, man.
They're rolling, man. You look, they've got a rim protector, and Wemby can stretch. And he's not even fully developed yet. He had some injuries last year, but they've got Vassell, Castle, De'Aaron Fox. He mentioned Harper off the bench, Kendall Johnson being coached now by Mitch Johnson. So, and Nick, me and you, I've got my Lucas shirt on. Lakers won last night. They're on a roll, but they do not have the wings and guards to match up with OKC or San Antonio. So, quick comment about the Spurs. I'm not a Spurs fan, but Nick, you got to, and Eric, you got to give it to the teams that are good, man, and they're good, and they're going to be on top for a long time, man.
No doubt. We are on the Pit Press Live. We want to thank you for joining us. We're wrapping up the show, just getting through the last batch of comments. We're going to go to JRod1702. If Olen leaves, I'd take Alford back in a heartbeat. I think he would want to come back and finish what he started, but no Noodles, several exclamation points. Eric, what do you think about that, man?
That's a 2-for-1 deal. I don't think they split up ever again. If Alfred's coming, Noodles is coming with them. I don't think that's going to be a choice. But I mean, they play the best bad cop, good cop scenario in the game, and I think we've had a lot of ex-players and managers come on and kind of attest to that, right? Like the Alex Kirks. We haven't had Kendall Williams on yet, but we've had Darius Gary, Ryan Berryman. They've all said the same exact thing about how the tandem really works, and they just work so good together, man. So I guess I would be open to Alfred coming back if for whatever reason Olen leaves, and we'd have to deal with Noodles coming back. But I'm not going to look that far ahead yet, man. I'm still kind of focused on this season, and I really do think that Olen is probably coming back next year.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope the same thing, Dad. Eric. But Dad, same question to you, man. Your thoughts? I know you have some thoughts on Craig Noodle. Maybe think about those, but also keep in mind, like, we would love to have Coach Alford back if we were in that position. Hopefully we're not. But he did fantastic things here, man. And like Eric said, they're probably a 2-for-1 deal. So if you had to take Noodles, would you take Alford?
The greatest, if you talk about greatest coaches in Lobo history, where's he at? Steve Alford, had a 30-5 season at. Where's he at? He's at the top. Bob King was the architect of Lobo basketball. Mark Smith, who he said his WAC coaching wasn't very good, but I don't think the Lobos take off where they are if it wasn't for Bob King. So I have to rate him up there, but Alford's right up there. Now, Noodles and Eric's right. They're a package deal. They're great together. Noodles is not good by himself. I just don't know if Janet Neal, his wife, would want to come back here. I don't know. They didn't leave here on very good terms. I don't know, but they are, and the other thing is this is coming up because Berryman has ties to Alford. He was his manager. And I think that, people don't want a revolving door here, coach. They want some stability. Would he reach out to Alford? I think he absolutely would. But like Eric said, but these things have to be discussed. They do. That's the way it is, man. And Berryman, like Lovo and Eddie Nunez, has to be ready with names. Lovo think about it, though. The losses that we've incurred: Nunez, Dave Williams, Mendenhall, Lovo, Patino. We've lost a lot here, man. So Ryan Berryman has to be ready if this happens. He can't cry in his soup. He's got to have 5 names. Like, I got to be ready to go just in case this happens. He can't be like, well, he's going to stay. He's got to be ready for that if that happens. So we'll see.
Eric, just wanted to read maybe 1 or 2 more comments, man, and then let you talk about the partnership that we're doing with KC Optical for our bracket challenge. But just a couple more comments here. This is from Luis Torres, 1268. I'll be there driving from Espanola. Juan Martinez, 6'4", always a great listener of the show. This new era of college athletics has us fans with PTSD. Eric, you were talking about that, man. It's so hard. You can't get attached to coaches or players anymore because they're likely only going to be here for 1 to 2 years. This is the chosen guy, 505. Looking at the tickets left, the sides are pretty much sold out. Corners and behind the baskets are left. Again, go to golobos.com or UNM's social media pages. You can find out more information about how to purchase tickets to the game tomorrow. Eric, why don't you take it away on the bracket challenge, man?
Yeah, so just announced today, guys. We partnered up with KC Optical to a local glasses shop store, optical shop. They actually do prescription glasses. They also do sunglasses. So we have a bracket challenge going active with them today. It's free to enter. So all you got to do is actually just fill in a bracket, join the group. There's a link in our website that I can also include down at the bottom of the comment section here. You can just go to our website, click on the home button, and there's also a bracket challenge link. So KC Optical was kind enough to donate 3 different kinds of sunglasses. I think the first level or first place is kind of like some smart glasses. I think there's some cool digital feature to them. Second one is some free Ray-Ban sunglasses, and then the third I think are free Oakley sunglasses. So we got some really cool prizes. Thankful for them for donating those for this cause. So sign up for our bracket. We're all going to be filling out one. Go head to head with us, and good luck to anyone that plays. But the last comment or the last question I have for you guys, not sure how much college basketball you guys have been watching throughout the year outside of the Lobos. But Ed, I'm going to start with you first, man. Who's your pick to win the national title this year?
The Florida's the defending champion, and I went through some bracket challenges or I looked at the bracket. There was some controversy about. I read a story about BYU, but Basanta. God, I just read a story about him. Debansa. Gosh, what an amazing athlete that guy is, man. They're in. UCLA's in, with Donovan Dent. I'm going to go Arizona. I think Arizona's had a pretty good season. Although they do melt down in the tournament, man. They've had some tournament meltdowns that you didn't expect. But I think the Cats have been pretty good all season long. So that's my pick. I think Arizona's going to take it.
Nick, who do you got?
Yeah, man, I think in our bracket challenge that I already filled out, I picked Arizona. I'm sorry, not Arizona. I picked Michigan. You and I were watching Michigan play against, I think it was Wisconsin, when we were in Las Vegas, man. And you were telling me how impressive they were. I follow Yaxel Lendenborg because when the UNM coaching search started about last spring after Coach Patino left, right around this time, Andy Kennedy was the other guy that was in contention for this job. And there were rumors that he would have been able to get Yaxel Lendenborg to come here. Now, Lendenborg probably commanded high NIL money. But just watched him play, man. He hit a big shot, I think it was against Wisconsin, and I got the Wolverines as national champs, man.
Man, you took my pick. I was going to go Michigan too. I think they're just super talented. They're deep. They have a shooter, and his name just slipped my mind. That's out for the season, but I think he comes off the bench, so they might be missing him a little bit. But they've got other guys, man. They're just so good. They're big, they're long, they're athletic, they can score in transition. And if you give them any opportunity in terms of turnovers and getting fast break points, they can flip a game upside down so fast. And they've beaten some really good teams this year by a lot, man. I think they end up losing to Duke in one of those kind of mid-season games around Christmas time, I think it was. But Duke is also missing one of their starting guards too, who just was out with a broken foot or a broken bone in his foot. So things change. Teams kind of break down towards the end of the season, but I think Michigan is one of those juggernaut teams that can really plow through this tournament, and I expect them to come away as national champs. But do you guys have any sleeper picks? Any kind of dark horses that might kind of sneak into the Final Four that maybe not a lot of people are paying attention to?
Dad, you want to go or you want me to take it?
Go ahead. I haven't really taken that deep of a dive, but I have someone in mind.
Yeah, same here, Eric. I mean, I hate to be a homer for the Mountain West, and maybe I can only say this because there's some recency bias watching Utah State have the Mountain West Conference tournament that they did. But you and I were talking, Eric, man, and I mean, I think this is a team that plays a style that if they can get downhill, force some turnovers, play in transition, you got a shot maker in MJ Collins, a playmaker in Mason Falslev, some shooting around him. Drake Allen is starting to play well. He played well in the conference tournament. I think they're pissed off at the seed that they got at number 9. Shoot, man, could they make the Final Four? No, but if you ask me what a Cinderella pick was, I'd go with the Aggies.
Yeah. Well, I think the Aggies would play Michigan the second game if they won. Do I have that right?
No, I think they'd play Arizona.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I knew it was a 1 seed. Ed.
You know what? If I wanted a sleeper, and it's only because I'm rooting for Donovan Dan, it might be UCLA. I don't think they'll make it there, but he played pretty well lately. And Nick and I were monitoring him throughout the year a little bit, and he struggled at first. And the UCLA fans were not happy. They don't want to give away $3 million without they expect Tyrus Edney production, Russell Westbrook production. But I thought he played well towards the end of the year, and really. The UCLA at a 7 seed, they probably won't win it, but I'd like to, keep an eye on the Bruins and see how they do.
All right. I think, okay, I'm going to give my pick now, and I'm going to have to go with Papa Patino and the Johnnies of St. John's. They're coming off a second straight Big East Conference Tournament championship. Just knocked off a really good UConn team. And look, there's there's Juan Martinez too. St. John's going to shock the nation. John Romero, St. John's is also a dark horse. Don't mess with Patino. And I mean, the reason I'm going with them guys is they're just so good, man. That Zuby Ejiofor, their forward big, is so effective, man. They have some really good guard play too, and Bryce Hopkins. And there's an Italian guy, white guy. Dylan Darling, I think his name is. He's a really good kind of glue guy guard, hustle guy, but he's a good shooter. I think they have some really interesting makeup with this team, but they've got that Patino DNA. They play defense, man, and they're physical, and that's kind of how you win in the big dance. Is you just kind of bully teams. Really good guard play, and you've got an inside presence. So well-rounded, and I think they're also kind of coming in with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder because I think they got a 5 seed, and I think they felt like they deserved a lot higher than that. So
they beat UConn.
That's my pick.
On Sunday, and they beat UConn. It didn't move them, and even Dan Hurley was, you could see him mouthing on the sideline, "We suck." And Dan Hurley's one of my favorite coaches. That guy's half crazy, man. Don't count UConn out either. But so I thought the St. John's I think is a pretty good sleeper picker.
Let me add to that real quick, Eric. I mean, just to play devil's advocate here, since you both seem very high on St. John's, but I mean, the last time that St. John's and UConn played, St. John's missed its final 24 field goal attempts, failing to make a shot for the last 17 minutes and 28 seconds of the game. So, look, the only point I want to make about that is this. That, sometimes they can be an ugly offensive team. And I felt like that was their demise last year in the tournament. What do you think is different about this year's St. John's team where if they're in a game in the tournament where they have to score a basket, I mean, what makes you confident that they have a guy that's going to get them a bucket?
Those 2 guards I mentioned, and Bryce Hopkins and Darling.
Okay.
Those guys they didn't have last year. And I think they've got a different makeup about them. And then Nick, I mean, you and I both bet against them in Vegas, right? We bet on UConn, and here we are kind of like licking our chops, man. They're like, UConn is down 17 in the first half, and we're like, man, we should have, come on, man.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm a little bit biased towards that way, but that's what I'm thinking, man. They're clicking on all cylinders, and I don't think they have an 0 for 24 shooting drought in the Big Dance.
I hear you, man. That's totally fair. And then maybe we can end it on this one. John Romero, St. John's is, like you said, don't mess with the Patino. That's the point I wanted to make, because I think my wife told me you should have never bet against a Patino, and I made the mistake, man. It happens. Man, you guys have any final thoughts on tonight's show?
You know what, guys? Great show. Great conversation. Great to talk about the matchup tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to it, and great to get into some New Mexico State basketball, and hopefully we satisfied some of the viewers' curiosity about Coach Olen. But it's not going to stop until probably a couple weeks from now, until we hear that he's staying.
Yep,
Eric,
I share that too, man. No, I hoping for a good game tomorrow. Hoping for a good turnout, especially, and really looking for. I mean, it seems like it's going to be an electric game, right? Like they've got some, and Sam Houston's got some really good players that I didn't really even consider, man, and they're a good team. So looking forward to just a good game, and hopefully we get to continue covering this team and as they move along in the tournament.
UNM men's basketball takes on Sam Houston tomorrow in the Pit, 7 p.m. It's the first round of the NIT. If the Lobos win, they hope to host a game on Sunday, March 22nd, also in the Pit. Those details still need to be worked out, but you can find tickets for tomorrow's game at golobos.com. Our guest tonight on the Pit Press Live was Nick Coppola of the Las Cruces Sun News. For Eric Moulton, Ed Nunez, I'm Nick Nunez. You've been tuning into the Pit Press Live.